Hey guys, so you know what time it is, right? Guess what I just finished? I finally finished Murder in the Family. So I finally finished Murder in the Family, and when I say this book was a lot, this book, everything. So before we jump into our review and everything that we have to say about the book, we are also crocheting. We are in the process of making a phone case. Tomorrow, it's not going to be the tomorrow for when this video drops, but tomorrow is my mom's birthday, and she asked for a one of my phone cases that I've been making. I do have them available on my website if you want to check it out, and the link to my website will be in the bio. But I'm making this one out of Lily Sugar and Cream, and the color is rose pink. I'm liking it so far. These stitches look really good. I know, I'm all up in your face. I'm so sorry. I am using a 5.5mm hook. I don't know if I want to do this one similar to the ones that I've already done, where I do a bunch of half double crochets and chains, which I might, because I like the way that looked and it made the process of working it go a little bit faster. And like I said, her birthday is tomorrow and it's currently 6:19 p.m. and I'm going to the movies in a couple hours, so we need to get a roll on this. But I thought no better way to get a roll on this than talking about my most recent read. Like, I literally finished this book yesterday and I already put the wrong stitch in. Gosh. But my most recent read, let's get back on topic. My most recent read is Murder in the Family by Cara Hunter. This book gave everything that it was supposed to give. 100%. Disclaimer, I am not 100% at not looking at my crochet work. So if I'm not making the eye contact that you need, I'm sorry. But what I will say is, go grab you a crochet project and let's chat together about this book. Now, the beginning, I'm not going to do any spoilers. No spoilers right now. When we get to spoilers, trust me, I will let you know. And if you see me looking off to the side, I'm looking at my computer, which is right behind the camera, because that is where my notes are. And trust me, for this book, for this type of book, we need notes, okay? All right, so this book just came out. It came out in July 2023, so it came out last year. When it came out, I heard a lot of good things about the book immediately, off of TikTok, off of Instagram. Like, everybody was talking about how good this book was and how the format of this book was like nothing they've ever seen. I can agree. The format of this book is like nothing I've ever seen. Well, not seen, nothing I've ever read. I know that there's other books in this type of format, but me personally, I haven't read them. So this book gave me other feels. So when it first came out last year, I wanted to get it. I seen a lot of people had it with early access. I wasn't able to be on that list. I'm not important enough for that. So I had to wait like everybody else for it to come out. When it did eventually come out, I got it on my Kindle. I didn't read it when I got it on my Kindle because there was a lot of pictures and there was a lot of like extra things that were going on that it was kind of hard to follow it on my Kindle. It was a little hard for me to see some things. We all know with the Kindle, well, I know for mine, I have the Kindle Paperwhite. She's always near. She's always close by. Even if I'm reading a physical book, she's still always close by. But if there's a way to do this, what I'm about to say, please somebody let me know in the comments. But I wasn't able to like zoom in, get better view of some of the pictures and stuff that was included. So it was a little bit hard for me, but A few weeks back, right after my wedding, me and hubby was at Barnes and Noble, and I seen it, and just holding the book in my hand, I know that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy, I know. But just holding the book in my hand, I was like, yeah, okay. And looking at the cover, I'm like, I want to give this book another try. But I think the physical version would be the best way for me to give it that try. So he bought it for me. I started reading it on our way to our honeymoon, but due to all the excitement of driving, I wasn't able to keep going like I wanted to. It was a little bit tricky. He was speeding. That's a story for another time. But I finally, after we got back home, I was able to actually fully read it and fall in love and become literally obsessed. So I read the physical version, and I also listened to the audiobook while I was reading. I have really bad ADHD, okay? Just like half the world. But for me, when I'm reading, if I'm not reading out loud to where I can also hear the words, I'm not going to retain anything. So me listening to the audiobook while I was reading it was the best way for me to retain all the information that I needed to. So I only took a pause on my crochet because I just decided in this moment I'm going to do it with the holes. So I'm going to be doing double crochets and chains. So I might not need to look that much for that. So I fell in love with it. I've been boasting about it. I've been telling all of my reading friends to check it out. I want everybody to read this book because I want everybody to go through the journey that I went through with this book. So let's just get into some of the logistics. I am going to read the back of the book. Just the description. Still, no spoilers. No spoilers. All right. But no one saw the killer, but they all saw the body. In December 2003, Luke Ryder, the stepfather of acclaimed filmmaker Guy Howard, was found dead in the garden of their suburban family home. Guy was only a child, asleep upstairs at the time of the murder. His mother and his two sisters were also in the house that night, but all swear that they saw nothing. Despite a high-profile police investigation, the endless media attention, no suspect has ever been charged, and Guy's family has been haunted ever since. 20 years later, the sensational new streaming series Infamous is dedicated to investigating and perhaps cracking this famous cold case. The production team will re-examine testimony, re-interview witnesses, and once again scour the evidence. The family will speak, the key players will be reunited on camera, and the truth will come out. Are you ready to see it? Am I ready to see it? I wasn't ready for anything that I got out of this book. Like, let's just leave it at that. I was not ready for anything. I wasn't ready for anything. Just my honest opinion. Now, on Goodreads, like I said, I'm gonna be looking off just for a second. On Goodreads, this book is rated overall 3.76 stars. It has 36,000 ratings, and it's been reviewed 5,800 times. That's decent. Me and Goodreads, we have a love-hate type of relationship. Like, I take what she says with a grain of salt. What some people like may not be your taste. Just because I like the book doesn't mean everyone else is gonna like it. It's just all depends on you and your personality and what you like to read. But if you haven't read this book, sorry, but now is the time. Right now is the time for you to exit off this video unless you want to be spoiled. This whole book to be spoiled, because I'm giving you another 5 seconds. All right, so if you're still here, that's on you. Okay, so this book starts off, in my opinion, with the lay of the land. We get to see a lot of resumes of our experts involved. There are 6 experts. The first expert, his name is Alan Cannon, and he is a detective inspector with the Metropolitan Police. Then we have Mitchell Clark. He is a journalist. He covered the case in the London press back in 2003 when the case actually, after the murder. We have Hugo Fraser. He is the leading UK criminal prosecutor. Then we have Dr. Layla Furness. She's a forensic psychologist. And then we have J.J. Morton, who is a crime scene investigator in the South Wales Police. And then we have William, aka Bill Serafini. Just get that out of the way. Then we're going to move on to our film crew. We have Nick Vincent. He is the producer. We have Guy Howard, who is the director and also the stepson of the murder victim, Luke, writer. And then we have Fabio Barry, who is the film editor. And then we have Tariq Osman. Now, a lot of the names and some of the cities and stuff like that included in this book is based in another country. So if I say something wrong, I do apologize. I feel like I've had a lot of practice with some of these words because I was listening to the book, but only time will tell. We have to go over the family. You have to get to know the family. Come on. Let's get it. All right, so we're going to start off with Caroline Howard. She is the wife of Luke and the mother of the 3 children that are going to be listed. Obviously, we have Mr. Luke Ryder, who was, I believe he was about 26 at the time of his murder. No, 28? He was in his 20s. And Caroline was a lot older than him. We also have Mara, who at the time of the murders was 15. Then we have Amelie, who at the time of the murders was 13. And then we have Guy, who we already talked about, who at the time of the murders was 10. Now, we also have another person in the family that we're going to talk about, and that is Rupert. He is the son of Caroline's first husband, so her stepchild. And he was also a friend of someone, but we're gonna come back to that. All right, so Caroline was young when she met Andrew. At the time, she worked as a nanny in Andrew's home while he lived there with his wife, Amanda, and their son, Rupert. Shortly after, some time passed as Caroline has been working there, and Amanda dies in a car crash. It was proved that it wasn't a situation where Caroline caused the car crash. I believe the book mentioned that it was an icy road that night. So it wasn't really anybody's fault. It was just a fluke when it happened. Now, shortly after Amanda died, though, Caroline and Andrew was together. Yeah, very together. They got married very soon after the death. A lot of people thought it was weird. They went through a lot of trouble to make it known we weren't having an affair when Amanda died. This is just what happened after she died. It was very swift. I felt like it was a little rush. Me personally, if something happens to me and hubby remarries that quick, I don't know. That's a little questionable. A little questionable. Now, Rupert, he was still young when his mom died, and he was in no way a fan of Caroline. He was not a fan of her when she was his nanny. He just wasn't a big fan of her. So when they got married, Rupert was off to boarding school. I mean, Andrew did not treat his son any different. He still loved his son. It was just, his son did not like his current wife, So Rupert was off to boarding school. They were in the process of building their family. Here comes Maura, Emily, and Guy. When Guy was 6, Andrew passed away. Guy seen his father collapse, and it was seen as a very traumatizing experience for him, and also a rough time for their family overall, which, you know, it's kind of obvious that would be a rough time for anybody losing a parent, losing a spouse, losing in anything. It's a rough time. So later on, in about 2000 later on in 2000, Caroline met Luke through Rupert. Luke at that time was in the same age range as Rupert. They hung out, they went to bars, they talked to girls, typical things that people in that age range in their early 20s would do with their friends. Hang out, chill, go to bars, get drinks, pick up girls, pick up chicks, you know. Rupert was not a fan of this relationship in any way. He thought it was a little bit strange. Like, it was just like elevated. Like, it was just fast. Like, sir, this is my stepmother and you're telling me that y'all are now together? Kudos to Rupert for still being calm during this situation. I don't think I would have been calm, especially if I wasn't a fan of this woman to start with. Now my father's dead. She's living in my father's house. You're about to go marry her and go live in my father's house with my father's kids. Okay, so Luke and Caroline got married in 2002. So they were together for not that long though, because when they met in 2000, it was during holiday breaks when Rupert was coming back home. That was December. They got married in 2002. So they were only together for about a year and some change before they got married. If you want to look at it that way, a year later, Luke was now dead. And no one has answers to the questions. Now, to set the scene of who was all around at the time of the murder, Caroline is said to be at a party. Maura and Emily are seeing a movie. And Guy is at home, asleep, with Luke. He was the only person in the house. Now, there was so many weird situations surrounding the murder that the police did not know where to start. And also, the family, it seemed like they had strong alibis. Like, they were able to see the ticket stubs for the girls, see that they were actually at the party. It was also raining the night of the murder, so Caroline was not seen at any point leaving the party that she was at and then coming back soaking wet. So Luke was found dead in the garden. He was beaten very, very badly. It is suggested that the person who did the beating would be covered in blood, would be covered in brain matter. Like, another thing that I liked about the book, which has nothing to do with my review, but another thing that I liked the book was they included like an autopsy picture, and it like really like paint the picture without painting the freaking picture, like showing something really graphic. Now, I'm not saying that I don't watch graphic things, but you know, I wouldn't have wanted to see that in that moment. Like that wouldn't have been something that I wanted to see. So ultimately, Caroline was at a party. Nobody seen her coming back with blood splattered all over, brain matter, anything like that. She was said to be at the party all night. Maura and Emily was at the movie. They had the ticket stub. Guy, like I said, was only 10 at the time of the murder. Like, they said he was asleep upstairs. That is what it was. Like, nobody believes that this type of crime could have been committed by a 10-year-old. Like, and the 10-year-old was completely lost. He didn't have any blood on him. He wasn't, yeah. There's a lot going on there. So, as we dig into the case a little bit, like I mentioned, this was set up as a, let me circle back again, I'm so sorry. This was set up as like a Netflix series, so it's spread out across 6 episodes. I am not going to discuss each specific episode. I am just going to just talk about highlights and things that happened within these episodes, because going in a specific order, trying to map it out, that would have been a lot more of me reading off my notes than I would have wanted. And I still want to be able to, you know, look at y'all. So what's up? But now, as we dig into the case, we find out that someone actually was questioned at the time of the murder, but their information and their name and everything was never released. Like, we had no idea who it was. We just knew that there was somebody that was there. Guess who was actually questioned and thought to have committed the murder? Our very own Mitchell. I mentioned Mitchell, excuse me. He's one of our experts. He is a journalist and he covered the case back in 2003. Now, Mitchell told the police that he was on the scene because he had access to a police scanner, heard the call come in through the scanner, and got over there to, like, he wanted to scoop it. Like, he wanted to be the first one to release it. He thought that, hey, this could make my career. I want to be there. I want to be on the ground. He was found peeking in the bushes. The cops seen him. They stopped him, put him in the car, handcuffed him. But he was later dismissed because, like I said, with the brutality of the murder, there was no way that this man in this clean outfit was the person who did it. Not with everything that we see from this murder scene. There's no way. No way at all. So he's let go. And the other thing that it is at the time was there was a high profile case that had some issue. Well, it didn't have any issues. There was like a racially motivated situation that was going on. So the cops were definitely still like, you know, we don't want that again. Like, we found some weed on this guy. It wasn't on his person, it was in his car. So we can't say that he was there to deal Luke some drugs and it went bad. Like, he said that he heard it on the police scanner. He got here, he was trying to scoop it. He is a journalist. Let's go with that. Now, moving forward a little bit, the experts are ready to look into Luke himself. Like, we need some information about him. Like, who was this man? And at the time of the murder, Luke was 26. He was just seen to be a typical 26-year-old athletic, high energy man who just so happened to be married to an older woman, right? Who else would want to murder this man? Like, does anyone else have any reason other than the family? Does anyone else have any reasons to hate him, to want him dead, anything like that? As they're looking into Luke, a couple motives become a little bit more plausible. One, with the fact that this man, who we know as Luke, is not really Luke. That was the first bomb that got dropped. That Luke was not Luke. We don't know who this man is. Well, I finished the book, so I know. But we don't know who this man is. Who is he? Well, we learned that he has had a great career at stealing identities and conning older women out of their money, jewelry, everything that you can take from an older woman. That was the game that he was in. He was in the game of getting him some older ladies, showing them a good time, then disappearing in the night with all their stuff. So, just two of the identities that we know of so far was actually Luke Ryder, and he got his passport after a bus explosion. And then we have another one, which was Eric Fulton, who we now know he actually died in New York City. Both of these men, I can't say were completely innocent men. Both of them had some past to them to which made it a little bit hard to disqualify the fact that there could have been someone who was looking for one of these men and was just like, does anybody know where Eric is? Different countries, like everything, like it was just a lot. They had no shortage of enemies, both of these men. Plus, we find out that all of our experts are not so innocent. Some of them are connected to the case, and not everybody at the table knows this. Like, the only person that knows about the connections of each person at this table is Nick, who is the producer. Yeah, Nick is the producer. He knows that a lot of these people are connected, and he knows why a lot of these people are connected to the case, to Luke, to whoever Luke is at the moment. Whoever this man is, they are all connected to this man. Now, we're going to continue to call him Luke throughout the rest of the video, throughout the rest of everything that we talk about, because it is just easier that way, since the book sets him up as Luke Ryder, even though we know that he is not the real Luke Ryder. Okay, so just a little recap of our experts. Alan Canning, who is the detective inspector in the Metropolitan Police. His sister was conned by Luke, or Eric, whoever he was at that moment, and she lost everything. Alan was actually looking for Eric / Luke to confront him to help his sister get everything back that she lost. We didn't know that. Mitchell Clark, like I mentioned, he was a journalist. He seemed so innocent, sweet. He was young. He was like 21 at the time of the murders. You know, he was having an entanglement. That's the best way that we're going to put it. He was having an entanglement with Maura at the time of the murders, who was 15. Yeah, he's not our favorite person. Then there is Hugo Fraser, who I said is a leading UK criminal prosecutor. Yeah, he was having an affair with Caroline at the time, before the murder, and a little bit after the murder. He's not innocent either. Dr. Layla Furness. Well, forensic psychologist, I'm sorry. Oop, I messed up for a second. Forensic psychologist. Yeah, her brother was killed in a motorcycle accident when he was young by Luke or Eric or whatever his name was at the time. He was murdered, and it was believed that the man with one of these personalities, one of these men before they were Luke. I don't know the best way to put this, because it's just like, I don't want to say what his actual name was yet, because I want to save that. I want to savor that little bit, that little tidbit. We do find out, but yeah, her brother was killed in a motorcycle accident when he was young, and this person was involved. So she had a connection. We're going to skip over JJ, because we're going to come back to JJ. And then William / Bill, he has been investigating Eric / Luke when he was over in the US. So at the time that filming started, he already knew that Luke was a con man. He already knew that this person has been using different names and has been getting through. So nobody else knew this. So when they were going through the episodes, he decided to drop this bomb, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, how did you figure this out in such short time? He already knew. He was hired by one of the families that was wronged by Luke in the past to get, information on him, to find him. back when he was over in the US. So yeah. Now we're gonna jump back to Caroline for a minute. Now, like I said, Caroline was young when she got with Andrew. There was a period of time in her life, it was briefly touched on in the beginning of the book. I 100% forgot all about it by the time it came to this piece, but they were further analyzing some photos of Caroline when she was getting married to Andrew, and like they had a lot of pictures. There was like beach pictures, everything. Caroline would not show her body. Why wasn't she showing her body? Because she has a scar on her stomach. Not just any scar. A scar from a cesarean. A C-section. She has a C-section scar on her stomach. Now, I know what you're saying. Like, why would she have a C-section scar on her stomach by the time she's marrying Andrew when she didn't have any kids until after they were married? Because she did have a kid when she was about 15. She left school for a while, and she went to another place. That's how we're gonna put it. She moved somewhere else and she had a baby. Now, for a while, I was so scared that we were going to be basically saying that Luke was her child. Oh my gosh, I was so pissed off while I was reading, because I was like, if we're going to get to the fact that there was just incest going on and she was humping with her son that whole time, I was gonna be pissed. But no, he wasn't her son. Her son was JJ Morton, the crime scene investigator. Now, I got a little confused around this part because he kept saying that he wasn't the child, but then there was just a lot of factors that was pointing to him being the child, like the year that she would have had the baby, that was his year of birth, the month, all that good stuff. Now we know that everyone involved has a motive. All right, now everyone in this room now has a reason that they might want this Luke person dead. Like, they were all connected to him or one of his identities at some point of time. So it's just like, it might not have been a family member at this point. It could have been one of these people. Like, and nobody's alibis to me was good enough to like really exclude them from possibly being connected. But let's jump back to the family, because now there's some different things that we need to put into perspective. So now that we know that Mitchell was in a situation with Mara, he has a little bit more to tell about his side of the story, and Mara also hears a lot of the stuff that they are saying in this room, because they're talking about this at the family home where she's currently living, and some things just aren't really sitting well with her that they're saying. Like, a lot of people were saying like, maybe Mara killed him because Luke was sexually assaulting her. She didn't like where this was all going, so she came in and she told the story, and I'm going to piece in some of her story and some of Mitchell's story together because it plays in with each other. So while Mitchell is telling his now story, he says that night Mara actually didn't go to the movies. She went there. Her mom dropped her off there, but shortly after she was dropped off, Mara had told her sister, like, hey, you stay here, you see the movie, I'm gonna leave to go hook up with my older man. So Mitchell picked her up. They went back to his place, did what they did for the amount of time that they were there for. And then when it was time for the movie to end, because it was scheduled to end at 10:15, he dropped Mara off on this corner that's a couple blocks away from her house so that she can meet with her sister and they can walk back home together. Now, Mara after she gets dropped off, she's sitting here. She's just waiting. Like, she's just waiting and waiting and waiting for her sister. And then she thinks, you know what? My sister's also not a good kid right now. Like, you know, she might have left and had the same idea as me and went to go hang out with some of her friends. Like, let me just go home. Maybe she's going to meet me at the house. When Mara gets to the house, she sees Emily. I'm sorry. I keep saying her name wrong. Emily. That's how they were saying it in the audible. So that's what I'm going to go with. Emily was in the laundry room washing blood, rinsing blood out of some clothes, and then she threw them in the wash machine. Now, Maura, when she first seen this, she didn't think anything of it. She thought maybe it was Emily's special girl time, and you know, she didn't make it home in enough time, and so she didn't think anything of it. Now, Maura's room was outside overlooking the garden. So she was in the house. She had to go back out the house through the garden to go up to her room. When she goes out there, she sees Luke dead. And immediately she thinks that something happened and her sister had no choice but to defend herself. And her sister killed Luke. So while Mara is in the house, when Mara found the body, she accidentally butt dialed Mitchell. So when Mitchell answered the phone, he heard like a moaning sound, a crying sound. He got worried, went back over to the house, and didn't want to be seen because, again, he was not supposed to be dating this young child girl. So he it brings me anger. He wasn't supposed to be dating her. So he went to go around the house to look through the back to see if he could figure out what's wrong, just to make sure Maura's okay, because she wasn't answering the phone when he called her back. And then that's how he got caught by the police. That's what he was really doing there. He went back there to check on her. Now, this evidence, everything that I just said, Maura is telling the camera. So now at this point, they're like, okay, Emily killed him. The police go, arrest her. She is in jail. She's not saying anything extra because Emily's not saying anything. She's not defending herself. She's not saying like, no, it wasn't me. She's not saying, well, he was hurting me. Like, a lot of people had ideas. They were like, maybe he was, instead of hurting Maura, he was taking advantage of Emily and she got tired of it and she killed him. Or maybe they got into a fight and things just got a little bit crazy and she beat his ass to death. Okay, so Emily is now in jail. Emily got arrested for everything that came out during the series, and Maura went to visit Emily. When she went to visit Emily, the producer Nick asked her to record the conversation. Like, we need to know more about what happened. And she's not talking, and if she's innocent, why won't she tell us what happened? Like, give us some sort of information. So Maura does just that. She's recording and they're talking about the situation, and Emily says, you know, I thought I was protecting you. What? Emily thought that she was protecting Maura. That's why she was keeping silent. She thought that Maura killed Luke, and she just didn't want to see her sister get in trouble. And when you think about it, Maura thought Emily killed Luke. So neither one of them talked about it after that night. Nobody had any type of conversation of what actually happened. Now, this special where we hear this. It was a special after the final episode. In the final episode, Amelia was like, I did it. Boom. They did a special that aired the same night as the final episode, and we're listening to that recording. Now, there is another suspect that I did not mention on purpose. So when our Luke picked up the real Luke's identity, he started to visit Luke's aunt, Florence. And I'm so sorry if it wasn't his aunt and it was his grandma. It was somebody. But the family wasn't talking, so it was just like, she hasn't seen Luke in years. So when he picked up and started to come and see her, she thought it was the real Luke, and that was all that she needed to know. Now, as we know, our man is a charmer, okay? He can charm the cash out of any older woman that he encounters, okay? That is his specialty. He's great at it, and he did just that with Florence. He did that enough to where she edited her will and edited Ian and his mother out of the will and was leaving everything, like all the good stuff, most of the good stuff, she was leaving it all to Luke. All right, so Ian sees who actually killed Luke. Are you ready? Before I can go into this, I was right. I am going to insert a video, a little clip of me reading the book the night before. I'm filming right now. The night before I'm filming. Before I got to the reveal with Emily, before all of that, my thoughts on who actually killed Luke. Okay, so I'm going to give my final, thought or suggestion on who the killer was in this book. I could be wrong, but we never know. I could also be right. So I think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think that when Mara had left her sister at the movies, maybe her sister didn't stay at the movies also. Maybe her sister went back home because she might have been messing with Luke. Follow me. Now, the thought of possibly him assaulting Mara would make sense because there was hair in his zipper, which was brought up, and the color of Mara's hair. So it possibly could have been Mara. However, I do still feel like in some way, somehow, we need to circle back to Rupert, which was Caroline's stepson. But I don't want to dismiss Caroline. And one person I'm definitely not going to dismiss is Guy. I think it just all clicked. Now, it was said that Guy had some issues. Like, they all had their own little issues just in life. Guy knocked over the cake. He was a badass kid. What if he walked in on Luke, or whatever the fuck his name is, assaulting his sister and beat the shit out of him with a rock? I don't know, but to me, maybe a 10-year-old could be possible of that. But a lot of the time when Guy was asked the question, Guy was like, I was only 10. I don't know, I was only 10. Sir, we know how old you were. Maybe that was his way of still trying to dismiss the fact that he couldn't have done it. He probably don't remember. It's probably repressed. Okay, so those are my final thoughts of the killer. Who the killer could possibly be. Okay. All right. So now that we've gotten that out the way, you heard who my original guess was, who killed Luke. let's talk about it. It was fucking Guy. It was Guy. Guy. 10-year-old Guy killed Luke. He bashed his head in. I was about to be more graphic. He bashed his head in with a cricket bat. And now Ian is saying this. Ian is being recorded. They're watching this. So obviously this is like in past tense. So they then go into the house, search the house. They find the cricket bat. Guess what's still on it? Guess what's still on it? Fragments of blood and brain matter. Alright, so let's talk about Guy. So after Guy witnessed his dad dying, he had a lot of behavioral issues, okay? Which of course he doesn't remember. So he was throwing tantrums, he was being disruptive. Even at Luke and Caroline's wedding, one of the witnesses that the experts were talking to mentioned that all the kids were in therapy and Luke pushed threw the cake from the wedding on the floor at the wedding. Like, he was not a good kid. Now, when Guy is confronted with this shortly after, in that episode when they watched the interview with the woman, he was like, she's a fucking liar. That never happened. I never did that. He had no memory of a lot of the things that he did, and he also has no memory of the murder. Sorry, he has no memory of the murder. I drop stitch markers all the time, and I also have a bunch of them next to me all of the time. So that's a broken one. I have a jar of stitch markers. That has nothing to do with it. I know. I'm stalling because we're at the meat and potatoes. Like, we're at the good stuff, girl. Keep going. All right. So while they're filming, all of these revelations dropped during the special episode. Guy is not physically in the room during the special episode. He is connected through a Zoom call where he's supposedly staying at the nursing home where his mom is. So he's with his mom at the time that this is all happening. Now, when it's dropped and when it's said, when Ian drops that ball that Guy did it, Guy wasn't on screen anymore. He wasn't, like, they went over to the screen that his Zoom call was connected to. He wasn't there. They just seen a chair. Where the fuck was Guy? So we then go to the next page, and the story finishes off with an article saying that Guy was found dead, but it was believed that he self-alived himself. But there was no side note included. So it was just like, what happened? Now there's another piece that I purposely left out, and that was the true identity of our guy Luke. Now we come to find out that his real name is Jonah McKenna, and he is from Flamborough, New Brunswick in Canada. He lived there with his mother and his father, and also his protective sister Rebecca. Now, out of his whole family, his parents died. It's only known that Rebecca is the only one alive, and they don't know where she is. When they went to New Brunswick, because they found a picture in Luke's wallet of New Brunswick. He had a picture of his old family home. They went there. That's how they got the information, talked to an old pastor. That's how they learned that, you know, Rebecca was very protective of her brother. She loved her brother down, okay? They were under the impression that he died when he was 17, away from home on a job. But like they said that his clothes drifted up in the water, but they never had a body. So they were under the impression that he died, but Rebecca was just like, no, my brother is out there. My brother is out there, and one day I'm going to find him and everything is going to be fine. So let's fast forward back to now. There was a woman seen leaving the location where Guy was at shortly before his death. She had red hair. These are all things that was described of Rebecca's appearance. Like, she had red hair. Like, you know, like this was a lot of her. But it was never proven. Like, nobody has seen Rebecca again. So it was just like, it could be her, but it couldn't be her. Who knows? Like, they actually don't know, but like we as the readers are like, I see what you did there. I see what you did there. Now, Guy's very expensive watch that he wore all the time was found in Flamborough on an empty grave. The name on the tombstone was Jonah McKenna. Are we here? We're here. So where I'm gathering is Rebecca watched the show. She seen her brother's fucking face. When it was revealed that Emily had killed her brother, she was in jail. What was she gonna do? She couldn't get into the jail to do anything to her. But when it was dropped that Guy was actually the murderer, oh, she found him. Oh baby, yes, she found him. She staged that, made that look like it, took his watch and put it on her brother's grave as a memorial. Before we talk about our end feelings about the book, let's do a little measure test, see how she measures up. I feel like, yep, I knew it. I knew as soon as I put her in there, it was going to be that was going to be it. So this is the body. I wanted it to be like a little bit big enough so that my mom could like put her AirPods in there. So I'm gonna put my AirPods in there, and yeah, it's definitely big enough. We're definitely done. Like, a piece of me actually wants to tear out a row or two, but that's my prerogative. Actually, no, she's good. She's good, because you never want it to be like right there. So we're gonna do two rows of single crochets to finish this off, and then we're gonna start on our strap. But how, like, with that out of the way, our whole conversation, we basically got through this bag. We got through this bag. Now, for me, this book was crazy. I could not put the book down. Like I mentioned, I finished it last night. The time of recording, not the time of posting. I finished it last night, and it was getting late, and I know it was getting late. Like, I'm still tired right now to this moment. I wasn't going to bed without finishing this book. I knew that. I knew that. Hubby knew that. It was a known fact that I was not going to bed until I finished this damn book. And I didn't. But yeah, like, tell me what you thought of this book. Like, did you see any of this coming? I mean, I did. Like, okay, so just a little bit on me. I read a lot of horror, mystery, thriller books. I watch a lot of that type of television also. So I was not opposed to the fact that Guy at 10 years old was a killer. Because a piece of me was like, he's the one home. He's home. Nobody else is home. But like, him also being the one to put forth and recommend them do this fucking show, and it comes out that he was the killer. Now that was something that I didn't think that part through. But I was definitely like, was like in thought, like it was the little boy, or it was Caroline. Like, the mom, I know we didn't talk about her a lot, but she has Alzheimer's, so she's not doing the best. So of course they didn't have any interviews with her, but they had a lot of interviews with like her friends and stuff like that. She was older when she got with Luke, so just think about it. Everything took place 20 years later. This TV show was being made 20 years after Luke's death. So I mean, she's a little up there in age, but still, overall, I gave this book a 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars, and the reason that I gave it 5 stars was because even though I felt like I guessed who the killer actually was, I still wasn't bored. Like, the justification, the how behind it, still to me was very intriguing. So I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at the ending. I'm not mad that I guessed it. I knew something was off with Emily, but no, did I think that she killed him? Like, I included my videos, so you see that I was a toss-up, and I definitely thought that Rupert was involved, because he was like, I hate this woman and you're my friend, and you're going to go and be with this woman who got with my dad shortly after my mama died, you know. But I was wrong when it came to Rupert, but I was right when it came to Guy. But needless to say, let me put this down for a second. I will be doing some more videos like this. I've been reading a lot. I show you guys a lot of the books that I have recently got after my honeymoon, so I'm definitely going to keep going with my reading. After this, I'll be reading Into These Woods or something. These Woods. I showed the book in my last video. Definitely check out that video, you know. But overall, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you're reading. If you were crocheting while I was crocheting and we were having our crochet session, let me know what you're making. What I'm making. And I have some of these available on my website. The ones that are available on my website are made of acrylic, if you want to check those out as well. My website will be linked down in the description. But I will be doing some more cotton ones, because this one actually wasn't bad. So definitely, if you're interested, check it out. There'll be some there too. See you guys next time. Bye.